Before we get into the video, I need you guys to do me a favour. Number 1, like the video. Also comment, let me know your thoughts on the story. Now Salford's Mark Fellows was nicknamed the Iceman, and he was responsible for at the very least 2 M's of notorious crime figures, one being Mr. Big, Paul Massey, and the second being his best friend and enforcer John Kinsella. For his deplorable actions, Mark Fellows was given a whole life sentence, which means that he will never ever be released. His natural life is essentially over. He would never get to see his children grow up on a day-to-day basis. Now Mark Fellows had stalked Paul Massey every day for weeks while hiding dressed in army fatigues, dark paint covering his face, and donning on a fake beard. Mark Fellows made the churchyard his home. Now Mark was said to have fantasized about the moment that he would end Mr. Big's life, who was considered the most dangerous crime boss in Salford. Now armed with a Uzi, Mark had assembled and disassembled it to make sure it was in working order. As previously, Mark had opened the door and stared down the barrel of a gun where the hitman attempted to K Mark. The weapon jammed and the hitman then ran away. In that incident, Mark heard rumblings that Mr. Big had ordered a hit on the Iceman because he was selling Class A gear on Mr. Big's turf. So, at 7:27 PM on July 6, 2015, Mark Fellows stood across the road from Paul Massey's home. He pulled out his Uzi from a duffel bag and watched as Paul Massey exited his BMW 5 Series and then start walking up the driveway of his home. Now Paul spotted Mark and then flinched. Mark smiled, pressed the trigger until there was no ammo left. 18 rounds were fired. In the final moments, Mark was said to have aimed at Mr. Big's feet, and while ducking and hiding behind wheelie bins, Paul Massey was forced to dance like a cowboy, trying to avoid approaching ammo. Now ultimately, Mr. Big was fatally struck in the chest on his own doorstep, and 3 years later, Mark Fellows then aimed John Kinsella. Stay safe.